اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Well, the term hijab in and of itself is a modern term. Okay, hijab meant a barrier. So in the Quran, when the term hijab is used, it doesn't mean the head covering, the head covering is called a khimar in Arabic. That said, is there anything in the Quran and Sunnah that clearly speaks about the head covering? The truth is there isn't. There's nothing explicit in the Quran nor in the Sunnah that speaks about the head covering.
وقل للمؤمنات يغضضن من أبصارهن ويحفظن فروجهن ولا يبدين زينتهن إلا ما ظهر منها ولا يبدين زينتهن إلا ما ظهر منها وليضربن بخمرهن على جيوبهن ولا يبدين زينتهن
So cool. The women had like different fashions or whatever, and one of the things the women before Islam used to do is they used to have this bandana type thing that they would tie in the back with their ponytails, and it would go to the middle of their back. So they wouldn't drape it in front; they throw it behind them. That was also called a khimar. Now the Quran says they should take their khimar and throw it in front of them, before their chests. In other words, the only difference is keep the khimar, but just use it. The head cover is already included in the meaning. Just use it to cover the front also, right? And it should be like a certain length. That's the meaning. And somebody argues like, no, but the word khimar, it just means shawl. It doesn't mean like head cover, whatever. It's really cool. Are you familiar with the word khamr? You know what that means?
Is that alcohol?
Alcohol, yeah. Wine. You know why it's called khamr?
No.
Because it messes with your head. Khamara blocks your judgment. Khamara literally means to cover. And it's called khamr because it messes with your mind. It creates a block in your mind. It's almost as though your head is covered up with something when you take khamr. It's like it's part of the meaning of the word. We're not even talking about the Islamic meaning. We're talking about Arabic itself. Back in the day, they'd see some horses are funny colors, like from the neck onwards it's white and the rest of it's brown or something like that. They would say that horse is mutakhammir. It's like it has a khimar on. So, like, how are you going to explain that as the horses don't have shawls on?
Yeah. It's just the length.
It's just a length, and it's covering its head, and it's up to its neck and all the way down. So that's why they're calling it a khimar, So, like, it's already in the language, but it's so unfortunate that when they say, okay, they should draw their veils over their chest. That's what some translations say, draw the veils over the chest. Well, a veil could be a shawl. It could be any kind of cloth. And it doesn't really include head covering, right? But the Arabic word does. And so I feel like a lot of this confusion comes because people don't pay attention enough to the original language, and how a lot of translations, they oversimplify the issue and we start coming to drastic conclusions. But I think that even if you talk about all of this, like somebody gets upset and says, who are you to tell me that I have to wear this or that? I'm not anybody to tell you anything. But what I'd like to, at least for people to know, is okay, here's what the word is in the Quran and here's what it means and here's how we can understand it. If you think there's better evidence, if you think there's another meaning in Arabic, then maybe you should tell me about it. So, I don't know, maybe I should do a talk about that someday.
Yeah.
Right, so there is nothing explicit in the Quran or Sunnah. You've got the verse in the Quran, in Surah Nur, which speaks about covering the jayb, the bosoms, the kind of chest area for women. Because the jayb meant a kind of the slit. So it was, because that's which is then also used for a pocket. Because a pocket was in essence a kind of slit. You slit and then you'd create a pocket. So similarly, so the dress was kind of created with a large cutout here, so you could kind of, and then that would, you could see a considerable amount of cleavage. So the Quran speaks about covering the bosom, covering the chest area, and it mentions the term use the khumar bi khumarihinna. So the women, a lot of the Arab women did used to wear khimars. So the way they would presumably, here's a towel. If I'm to use this towel, I've got a towel here today. So presumably women would cover it like this. So they would do that kind of, like wrap it like that. So this was about bringing this over and covering the kind of chest area with it. So this, so the point was about bringing this round, what was just kind of just hanging at the back there. Now the question is that was because Allah says, you know, that فَلْيَضْرِبْنَ بِخُمْرِهِنَّ, that let them kind of use their khumar and cover the bosoms. Does this mean that having a khumar, or having the khumar, or the khimar is singular, khumar is plural, not to be confused with khamar, which means alcohol. Otherwise that would be totally different if you say, should cover their bosoms in alcohol. What is going on? That's a complete misreading of the verse. This is why Arabic muy importante, you know. So so you have khumar, not khamar, right? So the khumar, is the khumar in and of itself an obligation? Or is this just circumstantial? Circumstantial, just circumstances. As in, I gave the example before, imagine I was to say that, let's just say as an analogy, totally different, not to do with hijab. Let's just say, as an example, if we were going through a place and I said, right, people, hide your jewelry. You know, this is a bit, it's a tricky, let's just say there's a lot of thieves around. And if I was to say, right guys, anybody wearing expensive watches, cover them with your sleeves. Right, cover them with your sleeves. Would this mean, so let's say now somebody gets hold of my statement 200 years from today or 500 years from today, would they understand that I was saying it was necessary to have sleeves, to wear always clothing with sleeves so you could cover the watches? Or could one equally take the watch off and put it in their pocket? Right, so this in this analogy, the kind of tools at play here in how you're analyzing a text are the same thing here. That when Allah is saying cover up the bosoms with the khumur, what if is Allah saying, hey, make sure you have khumur? Or is he just saying cover this up? What if you could cover it in the future with different mechanisms? Sounds a bit high-tech there, but different methods. Like what if now, you could use buttons and other things and, I don't know, get creative. So that is an interesting discussion. So really in the Quran was Sunnah, there definitely isn't anything clear and established about covering the hair.